everybody, and welcome to a modern night here at Eden Games and Hobbies. This is Chad, just soloing this one. So we have Brendan on Scapeshift, and we have Dom on the left on a green-white company build. I personally am a huge fan of this company deck. I'm actually playing it myself, so I have a small bit of bias in this matchup, but nothing too extremely crazy. We'll get the timer started underway momentarily. The players are shuffling up. I imagine that if Dom doesn't draw some, he has a lot of mainboard mitigation, things like Ghost Quarter, Aven Mind Sensor. So if he can find these cards, this matchup's really going to be in his favor. But if he can't, I believe that Brendan would be able to squeeze the game out. All right, so we're gonna get the time underway. It looks like the players are done shuffling up, and yeah. We're ready to go. Alright. Alright, both players drawing 7. We have a hand out of Dom here. That's Dromoka's Man, Birds of Paradise. Yeah, not really what he was looking for, kind of as I explained before. Looks like Brendan has Sakura Tribe Elder and lands and Scapeshift. So, pretty much exactly kind of an on-par hand for what he's looking to do in this matchup. Let's see. Dom's going to go down to 6 here. The deck does mulligan very well. You have a lot of play with your lands with the Green-White Company deck. And Todd Stevens kind of refined this list to be good against what the meta is doing right now. So we do see Aven Mind Sensor and a handful of lands here. It looks like he's pulling a Ghost Quarter to the front. This is exactly what he was looking for. So this mulligan definitely did Dom justice, and we're going to see a game here. Alright, he's going to take no damage off that Temple Garden. We're just going to pass the turn to Brendan. Brendan's going to draw Primetime for turn. It's going to be Forest and Suspend Search for tomorrow. So in 2 turns, Brendan's going to get a basic land into play untapped. Alright, this is Voice of Resurgence coming down from Dom, and he is just going to pass the turn over to Brendan. No damage out of either of these players off of their lands. Brendan taking a read on Voice of Resurgence. Voice of Resurgence actually nets you a token where power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures you control if Brendan were to cast a spell on Dom's turn, and if Voice of Resurgence dies himself. This is going to be Sakura Tribe Elder coming down for Brendan. It's going to be able to block that Voice of Resurgence pretty handily. Ooh, Dom draws Path for turn. He could force the sack. No, he's just going to attack. And then he's going to Aven Mind Sensor in response to Brendan sacrificing. Brendan's going to only be able to look at the top 4 every time he searches his library. No hits. No hits for Brendan, and this is exactly what I was talking about. This is the kind of hand that Dom really needed to find in this matchup. I personally as well play 2 Aven Mind Sensors in my build. It seems pretty standard for the builds. It gives you a flyer main board. So that you don't just lose to some random flyer, and it also provides advantage like this in the matchup like Scapeshift. Alright, Search for Tomorrow is going to come off Suspend. We're going to get to look at only the top 4 again. Looks like we have a hit. It's going to be a mountain. Alright, so Search wasn't a total bust here. Brendan's going to get to shuffle up his library before he draws. Alright, Dom kind of repositioning his lands here. And this normally would be a really beneficial turn for Brendan. He would actually be at 4 mana had this Sakura Tribe Elder not have missed because of the Aven Mind Sensor. Brendan looking at some fetches. That's going to be a Stomping Ground, actually. It's going to shock him for 2. We have our first damage of the game. Brendan's going to go down to 18. And this is going to be a Acid Moss, I believe. And that's going to destroy Dom's Temple Garden, taking him off white. And letting Brendan search for his own land, but he's only going to get to look at the top 4 again. That is going to find him a land in the form of, I believe, Arid Mesa? Or Cinderglade. It's probably Cinderglade. And these expeditions on camera, man. That's really doing wonders for me, Brendan. Alright, we're going to pass the turn over to Dom. Dom's going to go in for 4 here. Drop Brendan down to 14. And he's just going to play Birds of Paradise. That's going to give him the white mana he needs the following turn, but Brendan's going to get to untap and have a Primeval Titan at the ready. Now, Primeval Titan's only going to get to search the top 4, and this is the problem with Brendan's deck. He has a lot of inevitability because just playing lands helps you with the game plan. He does have a Valakut in hand, so that would actually enter tapped. He wouldn't get prime time this turn, but he would start to have his engine online. He's actually just going to go for another Stomping Ground here, so he's going to deal himself another 2. Alright, and yeah, he's going to get to play the Primeval Titan. That's going to let him search his library, but only the top 4, and he gets to grab 2 lands. He's going to find just basic forest off that. Now, this does stick a 6/6 on the board, and Brendan does get to look at the top 4 every time he attacks and grab 2 lands, so we're really looking for an answer out of Dominic, but we know that Dom does in fact have an answer in the form of Path, I believe. That may have been the previous hand that I'm quoting. No, he does have a Path. So he'll get to use the white to Path and still get in for 4 this turn, if he chooses. There's nothing Dom wants to Ghost Quarter right now. Yeah, so he's just going to use the 2 mana on the Scavenging Ooze. Now, he can just attack with the Mind Sensor, but I believe that what he's really in the ballpark for is, yeah, pathing this Primeval Titan before combat. Alright, so Brendan's going to get to search the top 4 just again for a basic land, and he hits. It's going to be a mountain. Now, I wonder how much of this Aven Mind Sensor kind of skews Brendan's decisions, just because he's having to search each time, and Brendan is pretty good with Scape Shift, so it may not be diluting his decisions too much, but it'll be interesting to see if him hitting each time is paying off, or is actually sort of a detriment. He does want to just have a bunch of lands. Ooh, this is going to be Prismatic Omen. This is going to be a Valakut, so this is going to actually trigger off itself and deal 3 to the Aven Mind Sensor. If this lands, which it will, this is game over for Dom. Oh, it's not. Brendan doesn't have the Scape Shift he needs. Dom's going to deal himself 1 damage, but he's going to gain a life from exiling the Secure Trival there. So he's actually going to take no damage off the exchange. Alright, pass turn to Dom. We'll see what he draws for turn. It's going to be a Knight of the Reliquary. I believe Dom is sitting on just 1 land in his graveyard currently. Alright. Dom's going to move into attacks. This is representing 5 damage, and eating anything with Scavenging Ooze doesn't change his clock. So that's going to drop Brendan down to 3. Now he has a Ghost Quarter for this Valakut here. And it may be advantageous for him to use it. Yeah, Brendan's sitting on 2 fetches in his hand. Dom's been very patient with this Ghost Quarter. There hasn't really been any advantageous targets, and Valakut is looking really advantageous as a target. He also can just respond to whatever Brendan's doing, so there's really no incentive to have to use it right now. Alright, he's going to tap 3. We're going to see Knight come down. He's going to take 1 off the Horizon Canopy. Here comes Knight of the Reliquary. Currently a 3/3, I believe, because of the 1 landing graveyard. Alright. He's going to play Sweltering Suns. He has that main board. That's going to deal 3 damage to everything. Dom left himself defenseless when it came to the Scavenging Ooze, so that's actually going to clean up his board and leave him with a 1/1 off the Voice of Resurgence. Alright, he's going to Ghost Quarter his own basic. That's going to make the Knight a 5/5. And then he's going to use the land to eat something with the Scavenging Ooze, making it a 4/4. This is going to be a really good turn for Dom, but Brendan's going to get multiple triggers off of his Valakut. So that's going to finish off the Scavenging Ooze, and that's also going to finish off the Knight of the Reliquary. If he hits on a land, of course. Alright. Alright, Brendan's going to fetch. That's going to take him down to 2. He's really looking to, Oh, right. Brendan getting rid of the Aven Mind Sensor earlier is coming in handy because Brendan is going to get Search Library, meaning there will be a hit, meaning the knight will most definitely die. So either way, this line leaves Dom with the lone 1/1 from the Voice of Resurgence. Now, if Dom finds even one more creature, though, this leaves Brendan dead to an attack. Yep, Voice of Resurgence swing, and that's going to be a game. Dom's going to take that one pretty handily, playing very correctly. Showing a lot of patience when it came to the Ghost Quarter, actually using it to make Brendan use a lot more of his resources and Valakut triggers. See what Brendan's looking to sideboard, and kind of gave Offset and Baloth a look. Engineered Explosive seems pretty good. It'll clean up. A lot of what Dom's doing is on 3 and 2. Anger of the Gods as another board wipe. You kind of have to catch Dom earlier in the game. Offset and Baloth can also be a pretty good blocker and keep Brendan alive for longer. Also, okay, so he's pulling aside these cards that are most definitely no's. Now, I believe something like Tireless Tracker is actually pretty advantageous in this matchup because Brendan is going to get board looked at cards just because this is geared to be a grindier matchup. Green White Company has a grindier matchup with almost every single deck that it plays against. Alright, on Dom's side of things, there's no reason to take out the main board. Dromoka's Command actually is pretty good against the board wipes. He's thinking about Renegade Rallier as something that he could possibly bring in from the sideboard. Kind of gives him a little more play. Dom's looking to be very aggressive and kind of just get Brendan while the getting's good, as it were. Brendan giving a second look over his sideboard. Alright, and it looks like we have some bits that were cheered. I wasn't sure as to what was happening on the box there, but we'll definitely get that looked out. It looks like it was from Darvak. Thank you very much. Alright, and they're shuffling up now. Dom's still considering a sideboard, maybe taking out something like Scavenging Ooze. Alright. Both players shuffling up. We're going to have a game 2 here. Again, I'd like to reiterate that Dom did end up getting that game 1. Alright, for those of y'all out there, by the way, while we're waiting for the players to shuffle up, Enton Games and Hobbies hosts many events, especially Magic the Gathering oriented. Every Friday night, you can catch us drafting. We'll actually be drafting Unstable. Once that releases, we'll probably draft it for about a month. Players are pretty excited up here. We usually have a very decent turnout for drafts, somewhere around like 10 to 14 people. We also have a pretty typical 20-person standard. So we're excited for that. And of course, as you're witnessing, we have Modern every Saturday night at 7:15. And we also have Team Unified Modern every second Saturday of every month, following our Warhammer tournaments. So we hold a lot of exciting events here. Both players drawing their hands. Let's look at what we got. Looks like Brendan's found lands, Farseek. He's going to keep it. They both like what they see, so he's going to have a Stomping Ground Enter tapped. And Dom is going to have possibly an untapped Temple Garden into a Birds of Paradise. Yep, untapped Temple Garden into a Birds of Paradise. That's going to take Dom down to 18 off the Temple Garden. Alright, both players writing down life totals. Going to pass turn over to Brendan, who's going to play a Mountain, and he's going to Farseek. especially while there's not an Aven Mind Sensor on board. He's going to search his library. That's going to get him Sheltered Thicket, one of the cycling lands from Amonkhet making an appearance here. Well, that's going to enter tapped. He's going to ship the turn over to Dom, who's deciding which land to play, either the Wooded Foothills or the Horizon Canopy. Alright, it's going to be Horizon Canopy. He's going to take 1 damage off the canopy. This is going to be Azusa. He's going to get to have a second land drop here. That's going to be Wooded Foothills. Them fetching. It's a big turn for Dom. Getting ahead on mana against Escape Shift is kind of where you want to be. He's not quite ahead on mana, but he's ahead of where he would be had he not had Azusa. Azusa letting you play 2 lands a turn is pretty good advantage, especially from the decks that we saw. He's going to play Noble Hierarch off that extra land. The decks we saw like Amulet Titan in past formats. This is going to be a Sweltering Sun. That's going to make quick work of the board. And Brendan's just going to play him out and pass the turn over to Dom. Dom's going to need to find some action here. It's going to be a Corsair Crewfix. He's going to have to reveal the top card of his library. He's going to take 1 off the Horizon Canopy to cast that. Alright, pass the turn over to Brendan. No find on lands. It's going to be a Sakura Tribe Elder from Brendan. He's just going to ship the turn back over to Dom. Dom's going to untap, have a land. He's going to gain a life, and he found a Collected Company. He's going to swing for 2. Brendan's going to block and then sacrifice in response. See if Dom has any effects in response to the sacrifice. Dom thinking whether or not he should collect a company. Brendan knows about the Collected Company. But Dom's going to let Brendan have it. Dom would rather Brendan not have a response or something like a Lightning Bolt, because it would just make work of the Aven Mind Sensor before Brendan untapped. Dom really wants to catch something like Escape Shift or a Primeval Titan. Alright, Brendan's going to untap with 6 lands here already. Alright, make that 7. Here is Primeval Titan. If Dom's going to do something, he's going to have to do it now. He's going to take 1 off Horizon Canopy for Collected Company. Let's look at the top 6. So he finds Aven Mind Sensor. Aven Mind Sensor hits. He finds Qasali Pridemage and Aven Mind Sensor. Brendan's going to only get to look at the top 4. This also gives him a flyer, which is pretty good advantage against the Primeval Titan. Alright, Brendan ended up finding actually some pretty good cards there. He found 1 Valakut and Molten Pinnacle. Dom letting Brendan know that he has to reveal the top card of his library due to Corsair Crewfix. Alright. Alright, he's going to ship the turn back over to Dom, who now has a flying threat, but he needs to find some sort of action against the Primeval Titan. Maybe something like Path that he found in the previous game. We'll see. He does have a Qasali Pridemage for any artifacts / enchantments that Brendan may have. Alright, Dom deciding what type of play he wants to make here. Like I said, if he had something to clean up this Primeval Titan, he probably would have snapped it off already. It's pretty big threat, and Brendan's going to have this huge attack coming on the following turn. Yep, he's going to deal Brendan 2. That's going to be the first damage of the game dealt to Brendan. That's going to drop Brendan down to 18. Dom tapping 2 mana. He's going to play a Scavenging Ooze. He's going to pass the turn over to Brendan. Now, something like Qasali Pridemage, very good sign-in for Dom. Actually, not great in this particular spot, just because Brendan's already at the point where he has so much mana. Dom was really hoping to catch something like an Engineered Explosives early in the game. Plus, it gives you an early threat to dedicate to the board. Alright, this is going to be a Primeval Titan attack that's going to trigger. Hopefully, Brendan finds 2 lands. He did. He hit 2 lands off of that. These are both going to be Cinderglades. They're going to enter untapped because Brendan controls 2 or more basics. I don't know why both players' lands are in front. Brendan, it makes a little more sense because he's on Scape Shift. I guess Dom lands are pretty important to his game plan as well. But if you ever watch our stream, Dom's very good player. He's usually on here. So he's going to use the Valakut trigger to deal with the Aven Mind Sensor. And Dom's also just going to take the damage off of the Primeval Titan. This is going to be Scape Shift, and Dom's seen enough. Alright, so we have a game 3 here. Dom's going to be on the play, I imagine. And this is... ooh. Okay. Looks like we have a rewind, actually. Brendan having to make sure that he even has enough. Yeah, Dom's going to make Brendan walk through it. All is said and done, this should be game. Yeah. Yeah, Dom's going to scoop him up. Yeah, we had a rewind there. I guess Dom wanted to make Brendan make sure that he had enough mountains left. That can be a typical problem involving the Scape Shift deck. Brendan showing a lot of restraint. You see a fetch land up at the top there, showing a lot of restraint by not cracking that fetch land. He actually left himself enough mountains in his deck because Valakut lets you search, or Scape Shift lets you search for, sacrifice X lands, search for X lands, and then you get all the triggers off the Valakut, which deals 3 damage apiece for each mountain that enters. And since they all enter simultaneously, you just deal usually around 18 damage to your opponent. And yeah, Dom was at a low enough life total that Brendan finding enough mountains did the work. Alright. So yeah, they're gonna shuffle up. We're gonna have a game 3 here out of these two players. Both actually phenomenal players. We have a very well-rounded Magic community. I know we've had a couple reviews left on our Facebook, and personally, I've heard a lot of walk-in people tell me that the tournaments are run smoothly. We're not tooting our own horn here, but the tournaments are run smoothly. But the players are competitive, but very nice. I've heard that from almost every person that has walked in and continues to come back. The player base is super friendly. Brendan and Dom both being friendly gentlemen. And, but also are very well-rounded players. And this was probably one of the best matches we're going to see on camera tonight. Hopefully. Depends on what the rest of the room's playing. I don't know what everyone else is playing. We got Brendan on Search for Tomorrow. Dom's going to have a Kasali Pridemage. And Brendan actually does have the Engineered Explosives in hand. Dom's going to fetch, so that's going to drop him down to 19. Brendan has Engineered Explosives, and Kasali Pridemage can do a very good cleanup job on artifacts. Alright, this is going to be 2, and this is going to be a Farseek. Brendan's going to search his library. He's going to find that Sheltered Thicket again. Because it enters tapped anyways, it's probably one of the more advantageous lands for him to grab. Both players shuffling because Modern's an amazing format where you shuffle your deck very frequently. I mean, you give people this much free will in play. It's just bound to happen. Dom should actually be at 17. He's going to attack with the Kasali Pridemage. That's going to drop Brendan down to 18. Alright, this is going to be a Ghost Quarter for the turn. And a Kitchen Finks. Dom's going to gain 2 life. Go back up to 19. Kitchen Finks has Persist, so even if Brendan finds a way to get rid of it, Kitchen Finks will come back and gain Dom another 2 life. Alright, Brendan finding a mountain off the Search for Tomorrow, and this could be a fairly big turn for Brendan. Dom is tapped out. So Brendan could clean up just the Kasali Pridemage with the Engineered Explosives. I don't know how amazing that play would be for him. But I don't know what else the Engineered Explosives is doing for him anyways. It looks like a Summoner's Pact is what he pulled to the front there. He'll have enough mana to pay for that the following turn. And he could be able to search his library this turn, which would be really, really good for him. Looks like he's thinking about the Engineered just to clean up the Qasali Pridemage. Also, if Dom sacks the Qasali Pridemage to pop it, it's not really too detrimental for Brendan now that he has enough mana to blow up the Engineered Explosives. Alright, this is going to be a Gavany Township coming down for Dom this turn. Alright, Brendan's going to pay 2 in response to Dom moving to combat, and then Brendan's going to take 3 off the Kitchen Finks. Alright, Dom counting the number of lands Brendan has, representing 5 lands. Once Brendan plays his 6th land, he can Summoner's Pact for Primeval Titan. And then, this is Knight of the Reliquary for Dom, by the way. He's going to be a 3/3. Brendan can Summoner's Pact for Primeval Titan, and then just pay for the Summoner's Pact the following turn. And that may be what we see him do this turn, especially since Dom doesn't have any way of flashing in an Aven Mind Sensor on Brendan. It'd be a really good use of his turn. Ooh, and this is going to be the promo Primeval Titan, so just naturally drawing it for turn. Brendan's going to search his library for 2 lands. Being wary, of course, of Dom's Ghost Quarter, and it looks like Dom also has Path in hand, so Dom could be able to make quick work. And Brendan's going to go and grab 2 Valakuts, so even if Dom Ghost Quarters 1, he'll be able to still go off with the other one that's left on the battlefield. Alright, Brendan's going to shuffle up, and Dom's going to cut. Alright, and Brendan's going to ship the turn back to Dom. Dom counting the number of lands. Dom looking at Collected Company, Path, and possibly another Path in hand. He's thinking about whether he wants to fire off this Ghost Quarter right now. He doesn't have the ability to tap the Knight to go search for land, but he does next turn, so he could Ghost Quarter Brendan's land, use Knight, sack a forest, go grab Ghost Quarter the other land, but that still leaves him. He would still have the one for the Path. And maybe how we see Dom sequence this turn out. Alright. So Dom's going to Path first to see what Brendan goes and grabs. And in response to pathing, he's going to Ghost Quarter. Okay, so we're going to see the same sequence of turn that I just described. He's just going to get all of Brendan's searching out of the way. So, Path, Primeval Titan, Ghost Quarter, both Valakuts. They're visually representing the stack of what happened that turn. Dom doing a lot of shortcutting because Brendan's, going to search all 3 out at the same time. So he gets to go grab 3 basic lands here. Alright, and that's going to be Forest, Mountain, Forest. Making sure he leaves himself enough in Mountain's main board. Alright, he's going to cut Dom's deck. Dom's going to attack with the Kitchen Finks. Drop Brendan down to 12. Alright, he's going to shock himself off the Temple Garden, so he's going to go down to 17, and he's just going to ship the turn back. Dom actually hadn't made a land drop yet that turn. So Dom, you needing the white for the second Path in hand. Believe Brendan still has the Summoner's Pact in hand, seeing how big the Knight is currently. Brendan also just having Valakut in hand as well, so he just naturally has the Valakut. Brendan setting his mountains aside. It looks like he has 6 mountains, so the Valakut would be online. So he's going to play Valakut. He's going to Summoner's Pact. This is going to let him search his library for a green creature, and then on his next turn, he has to pay 4 mana, or else he loses the game. I think Brendan deciding which Primeval Titan he wants to grab. Possibly having a preference on Primeval Titans. Alright, it's going to be a Primeval Titan. Triggered ability. Brendan's going to get to grab 2 lands. He's going to grab Valakut Mountain. That's going to give him 2 triggers to work with. So it's going to be 6 damage. So he either gets to direct the damage at Dom, or he gets to direct the damage at... And it looks like he wants to direct both at night to take care of it. Because it's currently, I believe, a 5/5. It gets +1/+1 for each land in your graveyard. So it is a 6/6. So that would be exact damage. Dom seeing if he has any way to put another land in his graveyard. Brendan putting a dice on top of his deck is pretty good to remind himself about the Summoner's Pact so he doesn't just start going into his turn and lose the game on accident. Dom waiting to decide. So the issue that Dom's running into right now is he wants to path to get rid of the Primeval Titan. But then Brendan gets to search for a basic. So if Brendan grabs a mountain, he gets 2 more triggers, which is 6 more damage. And he can kill the Kitchen Finks, and it comes back and gains Dom 2 life, but then he gets to kill the Kitchen Finks again, leaving Dom with nothing. So Dom's just going to let the night go. I'm going to untap. See if he finds... He wanted to see if he found a land, but he just found another copy of Collected Company. Alright, and upon Brendan untapping, he's going to path the Primeval Titan. So at the beginning of Brendan's upkeep. Gonna find him a mountain. That's gonna be the 6 damage. And it looks like he goes all in on Dom with the 6 damage. It's gonna drop Dom down to 11. He's gonna pay for the Summoner's Pact, not forgetting, even through the path. He's gonna draw for turn. So he's gonna try to start putting in work with these mountains that he has. It's gonna be a Wooded Foothills, which isn't a mountain, but he is going to. He's gonna play Windswept Heath, and he's gonna play Scapeshift. He's gonna sacrifice the Windswept Heath to Forest. He needs to make sure that he has enough mountains left on the battlefield to keep the Valakuts active. And so if he has if he has this many mountains main board still, then he actually just wins the game off the Scapeshift. I believe he may have one more Valakut main board. All 3 Sakura Tribals are just at the bottom, hiding out. And there it is. There's 3. 4. That's going to be it. Brendan's going to take this in 3 games against Dom. Wow. Really, really solid match there to start off the night. What we're going to do is we are going to take a quick 15-minute recess in order to get the rest of the round reported. A lot of the other players may have finished up because Modern is a quick format. And then we're going to have the next round to you in 15 minutes at the latest. Alright. So I hope to see everyone there. And thank you all for joining me for round 1. We'll have round 2 momentarily.